Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Entrepreneurial Mindset. My name is Jay Berman, and today's presentation is called Essential Marketing Concepts, Episode 11. The concepts in this video come from my book, Is Your Business Idea a Good Investment?, which is available on Amazon.com, Kindle version only. To purchase the book, go to Amazon search bar, select in books, type in my name, Jay Berman, purchase the book, and by doing so, you support my channel and my work. Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about market risk considerations. You can also see the other risks regarding small business ownership. Watch my video, The 7 Risks of Small Business Ownership. So what are the marketing risk considerations when you start a new business? Number one, your product could be so new the target market is just simply not ready to buy. They've never heard of the product, they're not familiar with the product, it's not something that's really similar to what they're already using. So maybe a target market just not ready to buy. It may not necessarily be a money issue for your target market, your potential customers, but it could be something that they have no experience with. Or if they are familiar with, maybe your product is just not perceived as better than competitors, better than what they are already using or already have. Your target market may change or decline due to trends. For example, it could be demographic trends. It could be also economic trends. The product may not be always available for purchase, so perhaps you haven't figured out your complete supply chain. For more information about supply chain, see Essential Marketing Concepts Episode 10. I go into a deep dive on the supply chain, so maybe your supply chain is not complete or figured out. And also it could be you have the lack of marketing firepower for brand awareness. The bigger companies have a huge competitive advantage because they have a lot of money that they can pour into advertising promotion. Whereas if you are a brand new entrepreneur, marketing can be a very expensive part of your startup costs. So what are some of the questions you should be asking yourself as you start your business? Number one, I start up with, what need, want, concern, priority, problem, or interest are you trying to appease, address, alleviate, or solve with your good or service? In other words, why are you creating this product? Why should people buy your product? How innovative or better is your product from current offerings, options, and choices that people have? Are you eliminating standards by maybe the product easier to use, or maybe has fewer features? Maybe it's cheaper. Are you raising industry standards, or are you creating new industry standards that haven't existed before? And who exactly are your target market, your prospects, your potential customers in terms of market size? How big is the market? Is it 1 million people? Is it 5 million people? Is it 10 million people? If it's local, is it 100,000 people, 200,000 people? That's an important consideration because not everybody is going to buy. So only a certain percentage are going to buy. So if you need, let's say 10,000 paying customers for your business to be a good investment, you may have to you may have to notify 1 million people to get to those 10,000 customers. And what are the demographics? Are they young? Are they old? Are they married, unmarried, educated, uneducated, high income, low income? Those type of questions. And what are people's spending priorities? So a spending priority obviously would be housing, food, clothes for work, transportation. And the issue is, how much money do people really have left after they spend when their priorities are taken care of? How much disposable income is what economists call it, do people have after all of their needs are met? Are your prospects more concerned about price? In other words, are they price conscious? Or are they more concerned about quality? In other words, are they more quality conscious? In other words, they're not too concerned about price, just as long as you're offering a good value. The vast majority of consumers, because they only have a certain amount of money in their bank accounts or the amount of money they earn, most people are going to be, price conscious. But there are a significant amount of people who buy products because they're driven by quality. In other words, they'd rather spend a little bit more because they think your product is better quality. So you're offering a good value. Does your revenue growth come from market growth? In other words, untapped market. Are you reaching an untapped market where there are very, very few competitors, very, very few options in that particular market? Or is your profit coming from market share gains? In other words, you are in a relatively competitive market and you're basically just acquiring customers from competitors. In other words, you're trying to persuade competitors' customers to switch to your product because you're giving them the perception that your product is indeed better. And how often will your customers purchase? Is it a one and done purchase? In other words, you'll never see them again. They'll purchase once and that's it. Or is this something that they need to purchase frequently? Are you planning to introduce new products in the next couple of years so you're not dependent on one product to earn a profit? You probably want to think about diversifying your product line so you have more than one product to offer people. And have you figured out your supply chain? Again, referring to Essential Marketing Concepts, episode 10. Have you figured out your supply chain from the product design to actually getting your product into retail stores or selling it online? What technology requirements will you need to produce your goods or services? How will you ensure your product is safe for public use? In other words, do you need government approval? And how much is that going to cost? And how will you provide customer service post-purchase? Is it going to be an email? Are you going to have a chat? Maybe a toll-free number? Or are you going to deploy some sort of AI function to help with your customer service function? And how do you plan to advertise and promote your products? In other words, how are you going to reach your target market? And how frequency are you going to be advertising to that particular market? And how much money is that going to cost to advertise and promote your products? That's a very, very big question because it's probably true 50% of your advertising budget is going to be wasted because you're targeting the wrong people, you're not using the right market advertising channel. And again, how much is it going to cost to reach 100,000 potential customers in your target market to get 10,000 people to buy? And how often do the people need to see your ad for them to become interested and then maybe convert them to buyers? And are you concerned your market will change? In other words, where is your product in the product life cycle? Again, the market might change due to demographic trends, technological trends, and of course, economic trends, because products do go through some sort of life cycle where they could become obsolete in a number of years. And the point is, will your product become obsolete? What do you need to do to constantly improve your product so it's always better than your competitors? And that's what I have for today. Any questions or comments, use the comments section below to subscribe to my channel for more educational content about entrepreneurship and I thank you for watching.